Emily is the CEO for Growth Energy, joins us right now. Emily, welcome back to AgriTalk.
Thanks for having me. Good to talk with you again.
You bet. It's great to have you back. Good grief. I mean, it should be no surprise that we didn't get the announcement yesterday because we didn't even get the proposed renewable volume obligations. So it's no surprise we didn't get the final numbers on this, Emily. But what's the holdup?
Well, it's no surprise, but it's incredibly frustrating, and that's why we're sending a letter to EPA today with an intent to sue. We need our 2020 blending obligations. You're absolutely right. The final renewable volume obligations were due yesterday. We didn't even see a pending all summer.
Right.
I think, for the most part, for these past several months, EPA has been dragging its feet and kicking its can and playing a game of politics. And, enough already. We need some answers and we need some certainty in this marketplace.
Okay. So you said a letter is going out that there's court action to be expected over this?
That's right. So it's the first step is for us, it's a letter of intent to EPA, putting them on notice that because they have failed to fulfill their statutory obligations, we may take legal action.
Okay. There are some out there, Emily, that would argue, doesn't it just make more sense to wait for the Biden administration?
Well, the truth is, even if it comes out and there's a proposal that comes out today, it's still going to be finished in the Biden administration. Right. But what's important is we cannot take our foot off the gas. We need the RVOs to come out. So, this letter of intent is our way of saying we still have, for the next 50 days, we have one administration in power. And just because we're going through a transition doesn't mean that we take a break for 50 days. So let's get moving, EPA. We'll work with this administration. We'll work with the next administration. But we've got to get these things out as quickly as we possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, do you put the Biden administration on notice at the same time and make sure that they see the letter?
Well, yes. I mean, it's important.
Yeah.
And, we're already having conversations, of course, with the transition team. And one of the most important parts of the conversation is the backlog of regulatory actions that are pending so that the team coming in understands, wow, there's a lot on our plate. These are the deadlines. This is what we need to prioritize. And this is how we move quickly to right the ship and engender some goodwill with this community, with rural America and the biofuel community.
Yeah, I was trying to be optimistic on the RVOs under the Biden administration, Emily, yesterday, and Davis kind of laughed at me when he said that we could be waiting until August or September. Is it going to be that long of a wait?
Well, I hope not. I mean, it's too early to tell. You've got to see you've got to get the new team in place. But, the
Right.
point that we will continue to make is that the most important thing coming out of the gate is that we restore integrity to the renewable fuel standard. It's going to be good for rural America, good for biofuel, and it also for an incoming administration with climate goals.
Right.
You are going to continue to decarbonize liquid fuels when you use more biofuels, as you will when you're doing the RFS right.
Yep, I want to get to that in a moment. First thing, before that, though, give us an update on the motion that was filed, I believe, was it November 23rd by a coalition of the biofuel and the ag groups? It's a motion asking the courts to enforce a 2017 decision, right?
Yes. So we've got a few legal things in the hopper right now. So we filed this fall a motion for summary judgment on our FOIA case, our 2016 FOIA case, which essentially says we need fairness and transparency. And EPA, if you're going to be making decisions around refinery exemptions, it should be done in public view.
Right.
So that's one filing that we recently made.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Yeah.
What are your plans or your strategy? Are they changing in anticipation of the Biden administration?
Well, the priorities don't change. So what we need to see in the short and the mid and the long term doesn't change, but how you engage and how we kind of build the case, make the case for the relevance and the critical importance of biofuels changes based on the priorities. So the conversation right now has to be with this incoming team. They have an agenda. They have a Build Back Better program and a rural program. And so it's showing them how, first of all, Mr. Biden made some very strong affirmative statements on the campaign trail about a strong renewable fuel standard, admonishing EPA for its handing out small refinery exemptions. So part of it is reminding that team of what was said and what was committed to,
Good.
and then showing them in your first 100 days, these are some easy wins, easy things that you can do. They don't cost any money. It's all within the administrative control on the regulation side, and you're going to engender goodwill with an industry that's critically important for the strength of rural America.
Okay, so when farmers hear, and I'm talking about corn producers, ethanol producers, when they hear that climate change is going to be front and center at every agency within a Biden administration, what should the message be that farmers hear when they hear that from the Biden team?
Well, what the message that we should be delivering to the Biden team is, if you want to be aggressive on carbon, agriculture is the solution. We have made so much progress with our innovation and sustainable agriculture. Let us be a partner and let us be a solution. Don't position us as the problem, because we are part of the solution. That's what we need to be parroting back to the administration to make sure that they understand, because I think there's a lot of education that needs to take place with some of the leadership coming in.
Absolutely. As there always is. That's a never-ending battle right there, Emily. Your thoughts when you hear current California Ag Resources Board, CARB, Chair Mary Nichols' name mentioned as a potential head of EPA. What's your thoughts there?
She's familiar with biofuels, and so it's important for somebody to have a familiarity with biofuels. So certainly it's nice to see that. I mean, if you look at CARB's low carbon fuel program right now, biofuels are creating more credits than any other source of energy.
Yep.
So, most important for us, whoever is going to be coming in, is that we have a constructive relationship, that we take the time to educate them on pressing biofuels policies. So, it's not helpful for us to take a real public position on individual names that are being bandied about. More express, we're committed. We will work with whoever comes in. And if they have a baseline understanding of biofuels, all the better.
Gotcha. What else? What else is going on, Emily, at Growth Energy?
Well, while we're doing a lot to prepare for the transition, we continue to be focused on the commercial build out. And so retailers are excited. They continue to be excited about E15. I've had a lot of conversations with retailers this fall that got the grant money from USDA. So we're working with them to make sure that grant money, it comes to fruition. Because while we have these bigger climate and policy conversations, we need more retailers every single day to be pumping E15.
Right. Yeah, I noticed some of the retailer conversations that you're having in kind of a short little podcast setting out on Twitter. That's a neat effort that you've got going, Emily.
Well, thank you. It's been really fun because it gives me a chance to kind of connect with them, especially in this time when we're not seeing each other in person. And so to hear what's top of mind, to hear their optimism, even when the fuel market has been so challenging this year, there's still a lot of optimism around the momentum of higher blends and what it can do, how financially for the retailers, but the customers love it. And that's the great part in these conversations is when I ask them, well, what's the customer feedback? Well, they keep coming and buying it and putting it in their tank because it's a great value product.
Yeah, absolutely. Which reminds me of the comment from John Linder, the president of NCGA, that he made when you and I and John participated in the ethanol town hall meeting here not too long ago, that John and NCGA sees the next ethanol for the corn market could be ethanol and the expanded and increased blend rates out there. I mean, it was such a positive message. And when you look at the potential of the potential under a climate-focused, right or wrong, but climate-focused administration, I got to be excited about the next 4 years of a Biden administration with ethanol.
I'm excited. I'm optimistic. We've got our work cut out for us. So there are some There are some naysayers out there, of course, and so there are many. But what I've found is what we need to educate the people coming into Washington is how much we've evolved in the past 10 years in ethanol, in terms of ethanol production and sustainable agriculture. And when you sit down, you say, hey, this is the data today. This is what we're able to achieve. They're truly astounded and very impressed. And that's if we can continue to get them to be thinking about today's science, today's marketplace, the demands, then we should be in good shape.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, if I don't talk to you before Christmas, Merry Christmas to you and Happy Holidays. And Emily, thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Chip.